And Morrissey, you did a stint on the dole back in the 80s. I suppose it felt different then to what it does now?
Well, I don't know how it feels now, but in the 70s it was terrible. I mean, job centres were just horrible places. But I was quite happy to be unemployed because I didn't want to work. I didn't want to have a job. And
that gets you into trouble these days, that does.
You're
denied benefits.
But, you know, these days, anything gets you into trouble. I mean, we're all in trouble for one reason or another. But I couldn't think of a job I wanted to do, so I thought I shouldn't do any.
Yeah. But I suppose we'd all have to sympathise with the white-collar worker who's only ever really enjoyed success, who's had no experience of going through this.
Therefore, why sympathise with them?
Right.
Oh, it's hard though when you're paying bills, isn't it, Nita? Let's face it. And kids to feed.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the reality. If you've got children to feed, mortgages to pay, but, you know, a lot of people aren't signing on because they've got savings. That's the other thing. They don't think 60 quid a week's worth it, but for a lot of people, that's a lot of money. So.
For a lot of people as well, with the possibility of losing their job maybe in the next 6 months, what should you be doing at this point to try and prepare yourself for it?
Just, you know, check your savings. If you're already in employment and they're offering you kind of courses, get involved. Look at your skill set, what are you capable of doing? And also, maybe think of alternative careers. I don't know, going to songwriting.
Possibly, yeah.
Or why not just paint or do something creative?
Yeah, exactly, absolutely.
Well, I suppose they'd say it doesn't pay the bills, but it might be an option at the moment.
It does for many people.
Yeah. That's true.
But as we said earlier, the fact that you were coming on the show generated two things: excitement and incredulity in equal measure.
Yeah, you really do have a massive following out there, famous fans, fanatical fans.
And indeed some famous fanatical fans who've passed this way over the last few weeks.
The lyrics are the soundtrack to my life.
I might not have become a poet if it hadn't been for him.
I adore him. If I hadn't have gotten into Morrissey, I don't think I'd be here today.
I was hooked right from the beginning.
I think at the time we just never seen anything like it.
And I used to write his lyrics on my bedroom wall.
I remember the hair going on the back of my neck and I thought, oh man, this is us. This is our generation.
He took all the things that pop music's about, which is being suntanned and handsome and getting all the girls, and he reversed them.
He just doesn't do sex, he doesn't do the bright lights, the man doesn't even iron his shirt. He's never sold out, you know.
I couldn't imagine him doing a Johnny Rotten and doing a butter advert.
I think a lot of people find him quite annoying, and I think that's a good thing.
Writing this to say in a gentle way.
I think Morrissey is very funny. I think some of the lyrics are hilarious.
Well, the lyrics are clever, wonderful, truthful, humorous.
Trudging slowly over wet sand, we go back to the bench where your clothes were stolen.
Some bands were singing about love and rhyming maybe and baby, and suddenly there's this guy saying, why pamper life's complexities when the leather runs smooth on the passenger seat?
Morrissey fans are pretty mental.
Managed to get myself launched on stage. I was quite happy about that. Sprained my wrist though, which was really painful.
I don't think you can spot a Morrissey fan.
I'm sure that when Morrissey finds that he's getting an endorsement from the leader of the Conservative Party, he will think, heaven knows, I'm miserable now. I'm a big fan, I'm afraid. Sorry about that.
A unique individual in the true sense of the word.
How do you react to people saying you're fantastic sort of all the time? Do you know what face to pull? Is it hard to find things to say?
It's very difficult to pull the right face, but it's very interesting. That's all I can say. I mean, it's fascinating. Is it me?
Yeah.
Well, I think it
Do they mean me?
Yes,
yes, they do mean me.
They do mean.
Oh, I see. Well, in that case, it's confusing. It's very confusing.
Because there's a lot of rock musicians out there, a lot of songwriters out there who've got fanatical fans. But with you, it's a bit like Bob Dylan or Eric Clapton. They confer upon you some kind of godlike status. There's almost there's nothing sensible you can reply to that. Is there?
It's very, very difficult. It's difficult to make comments because you might hurt people's feelings, but I get the sense that people are there for life, which is fantastic. Yeah. And I think that's also very unusual in pop music. because obviously everybody just flips, flops, comes and goes.
Of course, but with that comes responsibility, I guess.
I don't
Do you
feel
feel
any
that at all? No?
No.
So you just
No.
carry on,
Yes.
as long as you're enjoying it, you hope that the fans
Well,
do as well?
I don't know about enjoyment, but I just carry on and I don't feel responsibility. I just, I just...
You're not fearful of letting them down with your next album or anything like that?
Definitely not. No, no.
Oh, that's good. That
I
must
think
be
that's a quiet
like,
confidence,
liberating.
though, yeah.
Let's have a look at something from Years of Refusal, the new album. This is the first single. I'm Throwing My Arms Round Paris.
I have decided I'm throwing my arms around Paris because only stone and steel accept my love. In the absence of your smiling face.
Are they still good fun to do, those music videos? Because
they never were, to be honest. It's a mystery to me, but sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not.
How much input do you have?
Very, very little. With the director, I just say, here's the song, how do you see it? Off you go.
Yeah.
So I'm not really involved.
So do you tend to do what you're told? Or do you...
I don't do what I'm told, but I let somebody hammer the storyboard together.
Yeah.
You've described writing music as like launching your diary to music. It's about as good a description of writing music as I've ever heard.
Yes, yes. Well, I think it's been a very personal journey. Some people say it hasn't. Some people say it's full of mystery, but I don't think it is. I think it's very open. And I think I've been on the line for many, many years. And I don't think many pop songwriters are on the line. I think they detach themselves completely. They just write what's expected.
Does it get easier or harder, or they just...
It just remains the same. It just remains the same, and it's the perception of what you do changes, but I don't personally change.
Yeah.
Not really.
But then that's, as we say, it's like an unlikely pop star in many ways, isn't it? I think that's the appeal.
Pop star? I don't think so.
How would you describe yourself?
I've got no idea. I've got no idea, and it's probably safest if I say nothing else.
Okay, fair enough. We'll go with that one. That's a great one.
Let's go back to unemployment.
We're going to architectural history.
We are, yeah. You see?
That's why I'm here, really.
I knew. We secretly knew that, Morris. You're going to like this one, you see. Our architectural historian, Jonathan Foyle, has been going round the country looking at why